The value of our own social media, not including third parties, is estimated to be well in excess of €500,000. And an Ignite research survey found that 84% of Irish people believed that Darkness into Light really helped to destigmatise the issues of suicide in Ireland, and 91% believed that it raised awareness of suicide prevention support. The funds that we generated have allowed us to see 7,107 people last year. They've allowed us to respond to about 30,000 calls on the helpline. None of those people who have come to our door, none of those people who have called us have had to pay a penny for the services they received. None of the 36,000 people who have ever come through the door of Pieta House have had to pay a penny for the services they received. And that's entirely down to the generosity of the people who do Darkness into Light and the companies that support us throughout the years. We've provided funding for partner agencies across the world. Where we are in a country that isn't Ireland, we partner with another mental health charity, and we leave a proportion of the funds with them to support people after the event is over. So we have done that across the world, UK, Canada, US and Australia. But most critically as well, we've contributed to a 20% drop across Ireland in the numbers of people who have died by suicide. Not exclusively down to Pieta House, but we are part of a national conversation and a national response. The HSE's National Office for Suicide Prevention report in 2016 showed 399 deaths by suicide. In 2015, it was 451. In 2011, it was 554. So our trends are on the right direction. But those numbers are quantifiable and they're provable. But the people behind them are not quantifiable. So of those people who die by suicide, we know that there are huge numbers of people who are impacted and who are struggling. And we know that none of those deaths needed to happen. So if you think of the 399 who did die in 2016, if you think of the 54,000 people who are directly impacted by those deaths, those people are our brothers and sisters and friends and family. They're our work colleagues, they're ourselves. And it's really important that together, through Darkness into Light, we as a society engage with each other and support each other. It's really important that we keep using this and building this movement to empower people so that we can build an army that will fight the stigma of suicide and self-harm, that will fight the stigma of mental health, that will fight the stigmas of racism and homophobia and transphobia and all those other stigmas that lead people to the doors of Pieta House. Because if people don't fight, we're not going to win. And this is a war that we absolutely have to win. And while I am very proud of receiving this award, I'm more proud of the work that is being done as we're sitting here now in our centres across Ireland. And I'm more committed to ensure that that will happen. And I'm also more committed to make your life a little less comfortable so that you fight on our behalf and draw your own little army around you. Because we can bring about zero suicide in Ireland. It may not happen in our lifetime, but it's something that we can contribute to. And the fight won't be easily won. So thank you very much.
Just in terms of teenagers and that whole cohort, which is such a big high risk, obviously, at suicide, I just wondered, is there an opportunity, is it something you've looked at in terms of transition year, having a program or some sort of outreach to teenagers? Is that in your plan?
If you imagine a boxer understands where their vulnerability is, right? So a boxer who has a weak chin will hold his stance like this. A boxer who has a weak solar plexus will stand like this, and you will protect the area that's most vulnerable, and then you'll attack. The work that we do with the young people works in a similar principle. It says, look, you are kids. We want you to understand where your vulnerabilities are. So your vulnerability may be your size or your body image or your color. It may be your identity or your sexuality. It may be who your parents are. It may be the wealth of your parents or where you live or where you come from. It may be your accent. It may be your spots. So you understand in yourself what you are most vulnerable about. What's your big red button, and protect that. But when you're talking to all the kids It allows you to say, so if you know that you need to protect that, and I know, because we're kids, we can figure this out, I know where your red button is, then if I can't continue punching you, you have to keep defending yourself, and you're going to try and punch me. So it's about working with them and saying, actually, we can create an environment in this school, and we can create a society where I acknowledge your red button and you acknowledge mine, and we agree that we're not going to hit them. And that's what the Resilience Academy is about. So it's not about directly talking about suicide, it's talking about how we build ourselves as people with the strength and resilience that we have. So we're rolling it out across a number of schools at the moment. We'll see, I think, about 3,000 kids across the country this year, and our intention is to expand that out as we go along.
And do the schools, how do they know about it?
It has, that's a good question. I would need to talk to our guys, but I think it's advertised through schools and education programs.
Just there's been a lot of talk recently about online bullying and how social media is having a negative impact on teenagers. What do you think big brands should be doing to combat this?
I think if a brand is deliberate in its cause, then there's a huge level of accountability in that. I think brands should be realistic. Body image is a huge issue that comes through the door of Pieta House. Bullying over size and shape and height and all of those things is huge. So I think, more realistic interpretation of what the world is. We're not all the big bodybuilder guy in Niall's presentation, nor do we want to be. So I think a greater representation of what the world looks like. And actually, imagery is really powerful. So we have one of the things that Darkness into Light, I didn't mention there, but one of the things we've been able to do with Darkness into Light is create money we never had before. So if you think in the past, 2014, it gave us a third of our income, and then we had to find the other 2/3. So the ability to respond to needs and new needs and different communities, we never had it. In the last 2 years, we've been able to do 3 major initiatives. One with the travelling community, to see how our response to them could be better, because the suicide rates in the travelling community, particularly among travelling men, is absolutely huge, and we need to respond more appropriately. Or work with the autism community. So a lot of our therapists have said, look, we're working with clients, our work is cognitive, so it's entirely about what you will remember from the last session to this session, and we begin again and move forward. We offer 15 sessions of therapy to everybody that comes through the door, absolutely free of charge. So it's important that you keep that pace to move people from that point of darkness through to that kind of light for the new future. But you have to connect. So what they said was there are a lot of people coming through, and we think they may be undiagnosed and on the autism spectrum, because our ability to pick up where we left off isn't there. And we're worried because we need to support these people. So we've done a huge amount of research with the autism community, and we've made some major changes. So you don't have to be diagnosed to come in, but our staff now have different tools. So some of them could be some people with autism being face-to-face directly, as Michael and I are now, can be very, very, very conflictual and create anxiety. But if we sit beside each other, it makes it easier. So some of it is as simple as that. Some of it can be the use of play therapy for adults as much as with children. But to go back to your question about what could brands do, for us, we've realized we need to show that the people that we serve are the people we serve, and that there's a huge diversity across that. And I think the more diversity we can show, and by diversity I don't mean different hairstyles and different clothing, I mean real people. I think it makes a difference. But also I think managing accounts, where people are spouting vile things, delete it. I do believe that this conversation around censorship and no, we can't censor comments, I think that's a load of bullshit, because those comments kill. So I think, you balance it out. What do you want, free speech or death? And I'm not saying that you cut out free speech, but where there is vitriolic bile underneath your post, remove it. Don't leave it sitting there.
I was just wondering, because the room is full of people in corporates, and I know you have also a corporate programme, and I think it might just be very interesting for people to hear a little bit about that while you have the platform.
I think the skills base that's in this room is a skills base that we normally don't have access to. My colleague Melanie is here, and this is the first time we've ever had somebody in marketing. I am not a marketer by background, but you know, when you have a task to do, you kind of have to step up to the mark. But it's the first time we've been able to invest properly in that. And mainly that's through a journey of our own, of realizing that if we want to have proper advocacy and we want to properly engage people, that marketing is not about selling the product of Pieta House and getting money in. Marketing is about sharing our message and empowering people that they don't need us. So it's a hugely important role that we have. So from a corporate perspective, there are a number of different ways of doing it. You feel free to lend us your skills free of charge. We will gladly engage in that. But also, like I said earlier, we need an army. We need people to fight the suicide and the stigmas that we have. And we also want people to be supported. So you will work in offices, and I can guarantee you the people that you sit beside and see every day have either been touched by suicide or by self-harm. So there is an element of you can support each other by engaging with Pieta House in that sense. There is a program that we will reboot probably towards the end of this year where we can provide training and resilience to corporates. But we're very proud of some of the partnerships that we have, and Electric Ireland is a phenomenal partnership. And I suppose maybe using that as an example, we don't have a sponsorship from Electric Ireland. We really do have a partnership, because there are Electric Ireland employees and ESB employees across the country who marshal at events, who engage in events. They host tea parties and all sorts of things to raise money and awareness, and we go in and engage and build resilience. And you know, Andrea and Adele here could probably tell you as much about the work of Pieta House as I can, because there is a level of partnership and an understanding of what we do. So if you want to come into partnership with us, do. We would prefer a real meaningful partnership than a cheque with a nice amount of money, because the money we'll spend. But again, if you can help us not need your money, we're more interested in that. And I would say do give us a shout at any point.
Thank you.
Thank
Brilliant.
you.
Thank you very much.